So chapter 23 of Dragon Ball Super dropped, and there was some interesting information that I feel as though is pretty relevant, at the very least, to the Dragon Ball Super manga. This line wasn't in particular in the anime, but it is in the manga, and at the end of the day, while they do have, you know, their differences, ultimately they're the same. But it is interesting enough because I feel as though when it comes to the manga, Toyotaro is more close with Toriyama. He does some corrections and stuff like that. So getting a line like this, at the very least, gives some knowledge into some sort of power scaling, I want to say. Then again, with Dragon Ball Super, it's kind of up and down, up and down. But what I'm referring to is there's a line in the latest chapter, because essentially we're still in the Goku Black, merge Zama stuff right now. It's getting towards the end. This chapter brought forth Vegito Blue, although let's quickly talk about something because a lot of people are confused, including myself, because basically in the Viz translation of the Dragon Ball Super manga, or the Dragon Ball manga in general, when we got Vegito a while back in the anime, they called him still Vegito even in the English, but in the translation that Viz did for the manga, they actually called him Vegerot. And the reason they did that is because in Japanese, Goku's name, you know, Kakarot, is actually Kakaroto. So you take that part, you know, the Kakaroto, you take Vegeta, and you know, merge them together, and it becomes Vegito, Kakaroto. But in English, obviously, it's Kakarot, and it's not, you know, doesn't have the O at the end. So Viz decided for a more, not fateful, but more so making sense or logical point of doing a name in the English version to call him Vegerot. Personally, I don't like the name. I'll stick with Vegito 100,000 times. I mean, for me, when I was a kid and I saw Vegito, I always thought they were taking the O from Goku and putting Vegito. That's what I always thought. And I think overall Vegito just fits better. It's just a better fit than Vegerot. But that's neither here nor there. There's one line in the chapter that the Supreme Kai, Kaioshin, says regarding the power of Vegito and his Super Saiyan Blue transformation that kind of made me think, yeah, Beerus, yeah, you might have some trouble. So let's take a look at the line. Amazing! This is incredible! The power of Vegerot, could it already be greater than Lord Beerus? So essentially it's saying that Vegito Blue could potentially be even stronger than Beerus, which honestly, it's a little interchangeable. I know that they've already established the fact that Goku and Vegeta have a long way to go to pass Beerus, even though it kind of felt as though in Battle of Gods, whatever percentage Beerus was using, let's just say for all intents and purposes, Beerus was lying. He was only using 30% of his power, right? When Goku uses the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, shouldn't that, unless he's 1/10 of Beerus or less than 1/10 of Beerus, shouldn't multiplying his power times 10 already kind of bring him up? So that's something that is kind of like, it's a good line and it's an interesting line nonetheless, but it does make you think, well, how much validity can you stock into the fact that in the manga it's saying that Vegito could possibly have surpassed Beerus' power. We also had a line I remember in Resurrection F where basically I believe it was Whis that said Goku and Vegeta, when they work together, they could potentially overthrow Beerus. So it kind of is along the lines of that, and that makes sense again. Like, okay, if they work together, they could kick Beerus' ass, and then if you fuse them, they definitely should be able to kick Beerus' ass, because, you know, alone, you know, each of them working together, they're formidable, but when you do fusion, of course, it multiplies things times a crazy amount. So it's an interesting line nonetheless. I mean, the chapter as a whole, with chapter 23 of Dragon Ball Super, again, for the most part, it was doing things verbatim. There was a couple of changes here or there. I mean, they had cool stuff like him using the Kashin to throw shit at Goku, so there was a lot of similarities. A couple of differences was, I felt as though in chapter 23, when they fused, it was immensely too quick. It was like they fused and a couple pages later they defused, and I was like, huh? Because in the anime, we have Vegito Blue for a short amount of time, but it felt a lot longer than what we got in the actual manga. In the manga, it was like, I'm looking and it's literally like, I want to say 5 or 6 pages, 7 pages at most, and Vegito in the manga definitely is more savage. I mean, he cuts off Zama's hands, he blasts one of his arms off and shit like that, so we got more violence and brutality in the manga regarding Vegito and his acts against Zama's, but it's a lot quicker, and it's just kind of like here and there. It's like, hey, we have Vegito Blue, hey, he's gone, or Vegerot Blue, like, hey, we got him here and he's gone. I'm like, I wish they would have, you know, not dragged it out, but had it last a little bit longer. I know obviously that they're on a crunch time, and to be honest with you, I thought by now, like months ago, the manga would have already been finished with this, and we could have started on the Tournament of Power, but it seems as though we probably have, I want to say, at least 1 or 2 more chapters of this, which is ridiculous at this point, because we ended in the anime, the Goku Black stuff in like, what, November, October, or something like that, so it's a long time. Is he doing a good job? For the most part, yeah, and most chapters, honestly, he outdoes the anime with the manga. I'd say this one, because Vegito Blue was so quick to come and go, I was like, I feel the anime did that part a bit better. But getting that line from the Supreme Kai is interesting enough, because you got to think, okay, if them combined create a power that is even surpassing Beerus, then you got to think for a second, so how much further does Goku and Vegeta really have until they could surpass him? Again, we've got the line where they work together, they could surpass him, but now it's like, it's an interesting thing. I know it's going to bring forth a lot of debates, especially between the Vegito fanboys and the Beerus fanboys. I mean, Beerus as a whole, you know, Toriyama said a while ago already that he has no plans as of right now for Goku or Vegeta to surpass him, because he's still kind of like that goal in Dragon Ball Super. Goku and Vegeta, one of their biggest goals, even though we have, you know, villains that show up from time to time and events like the Tournament of Power, nevertheless, the big goal is to pass Beerus someday. So I don't think we're going to get until towards the end, at the very least, of Dragon Ball Super, a true indication of Goku or Vegeta surpassing Beerus, because it's kind of like Toriyama doesn't even have plans for it. That was a real cool line, but you also got to think, well, Vegito is far beyond what Goku and Vegeta are capable on their own anyways, so even if that is the case, that Vegito can kick Beerus's ass, they're not going to want to beat him that way. They want to do it with their own power. It even shows in the chapter 23, that Vegeta still didn't really want to do the fusion, because he said back in the day, never again, and then he ultimately did it because he found out, which I think the manga did a better job of explaining as well, of why it's only an hour, and also that the merged Zamas only has an hour. I think the manga did a better job in that regard, but I mean, they should have had, you know, the transformation happen a lot sooner, or at the very least drag the transformation out into the next chapter, because it was way too quick. But aside from that, still good shit there. And I mean, I guess I want to ask the big question: do you think, based on this knowledge, that truly Vegito Blue is indeed stronger and faster and just could defeat Beerus? And if that is the case, how much longer do you think, or how much more strength do you think Goku and Vegeta on their own need to, you know, train or obtain in order to be able to defeat Beerus on their own? Because they're not going to take the win by becoming Vegito, unless Beerus came back to Earth and said, this time around, I'm not playing. Like, you either defeat me or I'm truly going to destroy Earth. I gave you guys a pass last time. It's not happening again. Then maybe they would do that. But aside from that, I see them just trying their best to do it on their own. And I mean, we got the Tournament of Power coming up, and we know that Goku and Vegeta got to train their asses off, because there's going to be incredible fighters, especially if you following the anime. Then you know we got some contenders up in there. And I guess also to touch up on something that the manga is doing differently than the anime, the manga has really kept Trunks at bay, opposed to the anime. The anime had him, what, he had to last how many hours by himself against Goku Black and Zamas, and then eventually towards the end, which we still don't have the complete conclusion to this fight, which hopefully the next chapter can really wrap everything up. But I noticed Trunks really isn't doing much, which in a logical standpoint, definitely way better for the writing and stuff, because if Trunks was just, you know, stronger than the normal Zamas, but that was about it, him going up against the merged Zamas just sounds fucking ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the big problems that people had at the end of the Goku Black arc. If the manga changes things and doesn't have Trunks going to Super Saiyan Rage, which ultimately is just stronger than Super Saiyan Blue, and just makes Trunks go from like the strength of a Super Saiyan 3 around there to just astronomical levels, it makes more sense. The one thing I did like, and I know people will debate back and forth regarding this one, is the fact that I think at some given point with a logical solution, Trunks does need to have some sort of input and impact into the finale of defeating Goku Black and Zamas, or the merged Zamas in general, because yeah, it's like this was his arc. So I like that the anime had him do something. It's just a matter of having it make sense, because, you know, at the end when he did the Genki Dama Spirit Bomb Sword fucking thing, it was like, what? And then of course, you know, him going in the rage mode, as cool as it was and as dope as it was, and it kind of gave hope for other characters to just jump up in levels, it didn't make sense. And I think that the manga is doing a good job as well at keeping Trunks at bay. We did have an interesting little dialogue there where I feel as though it kind of invoked some emotion. It was definitely a nice little chat that Trunks had with Vegeta, where he was like, yo, my mom, the future one, she wanted to come here so bad. It wasn't even necessarily just to get away from Goku Black. She just wanted to see you. She's been lonely for so many years. That kind of got me. So chapter 23, the biggest flaw of it was they rushed the Vegito blue shit, or Vegerot. I gotta keep saying Vegerot. Like, no, it's Vegito, okay? They rushed the Vegito scene a bit too much, and there was a couple instances here or there, but as a whole, I think that it still was doing a lot better than the anime, which has been par for the course with the manga, except the ending of this chapter. Kind of curious what you guys think. If you read chapter 23, how do you feel about Trunks being at bay? What do you think about potentially Vegito already having surpassed Beerus in strength and, you know, could just basically kick his ass, seemingly? And your overall thoughts of what's going on right now in Dragon Ball Super in the manga. Hopefully next chapter wraps this up, because I really want to get the manga and the anime to the Tournament of Power. It seems as though they're both kind of dragging to get there. Like, they want to make something special, but at the cost of, like, yeah, we gotta wait. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Oh, by the way, check out the dope Goku Black shirt, Super Saiyan Rose. Yeah, it's lit.